My favorite thing about 3D is you can make anything, and my least favorite thing about 3D is you have to make everything.
Do you believe that there's still the need to gain a formal education in this industry?
The fun thing about 3D is that once the characters are done, they're done. You don't have to redraw them for every single frame. It makes things easier in that respect.
The work-life balance when it comes to an animator, what can people expect?
If you know people who actually work in the industry, send them your portfolio before you send it to anybody else and ask, be honest with me, is this going to work?
If you can find like-minded people who complement your skill sets, and then you can have something better.
Well, a lot of people have the I went to LA and it didn't work out story, so you're in good company.
Where I growl like this. You put them together and you've got Zom.
It's the Rob Zombie Show.
Hello there, is this Marson?
Yes. Hey, Colin, how are you? Sorry, we had a massive storm here in Canada again yesterday, and it knocked the power lines. Where are you based?
I am based in Orange County, California.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, I used to do work there. I did animation in Sheridan, and then I went to LA for a year, and then that didn't work out. So, but beautiful, beautiful city there.
Well, a lot of people have the I went to LA and it didn't work out story, so you're in good company.
Hey, well, you're still there, right? So definitely.
I'm LA adjacent, so it's cheating.
Okay. All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mad Artist Publishing. Today we are speaking with Collin McCall. He is the animator of the episodic short Rob and Zombie.
Here's a funny guy, we call him Zom. He likes to find brains and nom nom nom. And then there's Rob, he does his own thing, but he might just be malfunctioning. Now they're best friends and off they go. It's the Rob Zombie Show.
Today we're going to be discussing the film, the animation industry, and what Colin's been up to. Thanks for joining us today. You're somewhere where there's an apocalypse, or that's actually the background for your show, right?
Yep, it's the scenic apocalypse where we do all our filming.
Rob, tell us how you first got involved in the animation industry and actually what drew you into it.
You know, I just wanted to be an animator because I had a million stories in my head I wanted to tell, and drawing takes forever, and writing wasn't quite my thing at first. So I went to USC to learn how to animate. After that, I was a freelancer for a while. I haven't really worked in the industry myself. Ironically, I skipped working in industry and went straight to teaching. So okay. I teach 3D and animation courses while I work on my projects in the background.
What is USC?
USC, University of Southern California.
You mentioned you're a filmmaker, a scriptwriter, an animator. Which is your greater passion?
Definitely the writing thing. Coming up with the ideas is easy. Actually making them happen is hard.
Tell me where you actually got the experience, where you know what process to use when you're actually creating your shorts.
At a good film school, they'll walk you through the full process of making your own things. I have, as of now, been in charge of 2 projects. One, Rob and Zom, the 3D thing where I put together a crew, and now I'm on my other project called Evelyn Doom. You learn often by doing. So the animation, the 3D, I largely learned that at school. Everything else, writing it, putting it together, getting a team to get things done on time, you just learn by doing it.
So if you have to choose between character design, modeling, CGI, blend shape, VFX, which of that part do you enjoy most?
For Rob and Zom, I especially enjoyed the character design, especially getting Zom. He used to be just a generic soldier that I took off of a site, and then I greened him up and charred him up and gave him a personality. I also had to figure out how to make Rob able to move his head around his arms and change out his hands and all that fun stuff he does. So that was a design challenge that I really enjoyed, designing the characters.
Why did you pick a robot and a zombie and not, say, 2 zombies or 2 robots?
The trick is that there is contrast. These 2 characters are both monsters in their own way. They're these philosophical monsters. One is basically an ultra-libertarian who thinks that everything should be free, and the other is a conservative who thinks that everything should be tradition. And they're in the apocalypse just wandering around talking about how everything went wrong. 2 different characters, 2 different types of monsters.
Can you take us through how you came up with the voices?
You know, for Rob, he's basically this generic robot who just says a lot of horrible things in a monotone. And then I put my voice through a little low quality filter to give it an extra technological edge. And Zom is basically, he's old, he's grumpy, and he's this monster. So I add this really old, sort of unhappy old man voice with my full demonic growl I can do.
Where I growl like this. You put them together and you've got the...
How do you keep up personally with the animation trends in the industry? And what software did you use for the Robin Zom?
Robin Zom, we're using old school Autodesk Maya along with V-Ray rendering, which is a little more recent. For the actual trends in the industry, I pay attention to all sorts of animation sites talking about new animations. Whenever anything new comes out, it's fun to be dazzled by what they've got, like when Arcane or a bunch of other weird adult cartoons came out last year and this year. So I'm always looking to see what's interesting, what's new, and I try and pay attention to, whatever 3D software is current. Blender is rising as Maya is maybe stagnating. When Unreal 5 released Nanite, their impossibly awesome rendering software. So we're looking at possibly changing philosophies of how we model things, because it no longer matters how complex they are.
Mm-hmm. So what websites do you actually use for inspiration or education or resources?
Yeah, for basic tutorials and such, lynda.com became LinkedIn Learning at some point. I tell my students just to go get a 30-day free trial at that, because there are a bunch of videos that really flesh out various things. YouTube, just go to YouTube and look up modelers, look up people who are demonstrating their craft. The real thing is not so much instructions on how to use tools, but instructions from artists on how to do all sorts of specific things, people who put up weekly videos, modeling cars, animating things. It's a wealth of resources on YouTube with people doing videos.
When I first saw the intro, I immediately thought it was going to be a toon animation, right? So I want to know why you didn't proceed with a toon.
It originally started as a sort of joke where we wanted the intro to be very, very happy and upbeat and then crash to the apocalypse where everything is low and miserable and apocalyptic. And we were thinking about a way for the intro to be really fun and for the reality to be different. So we thought, well, it's in another dimension. It's literally, the intro is this 2D cartoonization of Robin Zom, and then the reality is this more fleshed out 3D version. We've had mixed results to how it actually works at the beginning. A lot of people ask, why is there a different intro? It was a joke. It's kind of worked.
So how many episodes are there?
Right now we have 7 minis and 5 episodes. So I suppose the answer is 12. Okay. Some of them are longer episodes where we establish the story, and the others are just these short little throwaways. We haven't been doing the show since mid-2021. I've switched gears a bit. I got basically a chance to do some writing for someone and some script doing. And after that, I had a chance to sort of develop that show, which is what I'm working on right now. I have thought about coming back to Robin Zom. It's got the 12 episodes. It's got a plot we haven't fully finished. I know a lot of people want to continue to work on it. At some point, I'm thinking we'll get a better animator than me and some better, interesting 3D backgrounds to make it more fleshed out if we do continue it, which would be fun, but we'll see.
Have you guys considered doing like a crowdfunding thing?
Yeah, we thought about it. We didn't get a lot of followers the first time around. I'm getting much better at figuring out social media and crowdfunding and all that. So if we take another stab at it, I will definitely start off with crowdfunding and see what we can do.
Can you take us to the work process on each of the episodes?
Basically, they all start out with just a bunch of writers on Zoom. That's basically what happened when COVID hit and we were all locked down. I said on Facebook, hey, who wants to write some episodes? So I got a bunch of people interested. And then we just come up with topics for Robin Zom to argue about. One person said we should do conspiracies. And then we just had a whole bunch of people throw out conspiracy-related stuff. And we thought, all right, point, write some stuff down. Let's put that into 2 or 3 minutes and make it an episode. After that, the characters, they've been pretty much finished for a while. Every now and then something happens. Like in the time travel episode, Zom gets half his face blown off. So I need to go do some modeling to make sure the characters are ready for all their scenes. The fun thing about 3D is that once the characters are done, they're done. You don't have to redraw them for every single frame. It makes things easier in that respect.
Do you believe that there's still the need to gain a formal education in this industry?
As a teacher, I can tell you that a lot of what's missing from online tutorials is the ability to ask questions. When I'm teaching my class, especially for the intro class, in the first few months, I get little questions where I can just say, okay, press 6, try it again. Good. Right. I can save students literally hours of Googling what's wrong just because I know how to answer a minute little question that nobody would necessarily mention in a video. The irony is when they're putting up videos, everything's going right. You film your best modeling tutorial, but you don't film things going wrong. So I think, especially when you're starting out with some software, go take a class that's an introduction to it. And in the background, continue to work on your skills as much as you wish.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the hardest thing about being an animator versus the easiest thing?
I always joke whenever it comes to 3D that my favorite thing about 3D is you can make anything. And my least favorite thing about 3D is you have to make everything, because you can make a zombie who's got his brain missing and a robot who can move his arms around, but you need to create the dirt, the buildings,
Right.
the scenery, everything about it. The fact that everything is fictional means you have limitless possibilities, but because nothing is real, you have to do everything yourself. So when it comes to animation and 3D in general, yeah, the ability to do everything, but the necessity to do everything too.
I want to add to that. You really should not attempt to do everything if you have the ability to work with others on a project. I know when I first graduated, even my grad film, I mean, let's do 3 characters, let's do environment, let's do fire, and this is before the plugins, mind you, right? So, I mean, I attempted to do something incredible and I lacked in certain aspects of execution. If you can find like-minded people who complement your skill sets, and then you can have something better. Even if it is going to be on a portfolio basis, it's still better to have something really nice where you can say, I did X, Y, Z, and then he did A, B, C, versus just having a mid-level product that is just kind of overall kind of good, but could be better. Because I see that all the time when we're watching films submitted to us on Audodesk channel. There's, for example, some amazing short, but the sound editing just sucks, right? And it's something so small where you could have just hired or worked with some sound editing student from online or from the same school, and it would just make it that much better. So that's sort of
the simple fact of the matter is, the animation for Rob and Zom is okay-ish. I've never been much of a character animator myself. Part of the reason I went with a robot and a zombie is because they're both stiff and lifeless, and neither one of them have lips. So I got to cheat and not do a lot of the work. But yeah, even your favorite YouTube animator, even someone you think is an amazing artist, look at the end of their work, and anything that had story, sound, visuals will have 6 people who were thanked for putting it together. And as I said earlier, I learn a lot of the things that I do by doing it. Get a team together. Don't wait for someone else's project. Say, hey, I'm doing a thing. Who wants to join me? And you'll find people who are looking for a team.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So you mentioned that you are working on something. Can you reveal some details about the next project that you have in your pipeline?
Yes, my next project I'm working on is a pilot script I wrote, which I've turned into a pitch Bible, and I've been pitching around. And now I'm getting a team of 2D animators to actually animate for it. It is called Evelyn Doom. And it is about a young witch who's trying to get into a magic academy with the power of positive thinking, but she finds out that too much positive thinking can have negative consequences. It's essentially a cartoon about a young lady tackling the problems with toxic positivity with her weird sidekick, the bumbling, floating black skull with glowing eyes called Bob, who is the avatar of doom. She's all optimism, he's all pessimism, and they work together to figure out how life works.
Well, you definitely have the elevator pitch fleshed out there.
I've done the elevator pitch.
Do you have a teaser for it or anything like that? Or maybe some sketches of the characters that you can share?
We have a ton of art to show you.
Okay.
And I'll send you some links to Evelyn Doom and all that. We have a few animations we're working on. What we're trying to do right now is just get a 2.5-minute segment of it animated when Evelyn and Bob meet up.
Okay. I wanted to get your insight on the portfolios and what the industry is looking for. Now, so what advice would you give to anybody who wants to either be an animator or a filmmaker? Do they need to include in their portfolio?
If you put together a portfolio and you think it's fine, you have exactly one person's review so far, and that's your own. Be sure to pass it around to industry people. If you know people who actually work in the industry, send them your portfolio before you send it to anybody else and ask, be honest with me, is this going to work? And another thing is to just go on YouTube and find a portfolio that blows your mind and you think you're not nearly that good, and use that as your standard. Because if you want to impress people, impress them with something you'd be impressed by.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. That's easier said than done. I remember when
very much so.
When I went to LA and I had my reel for my grad film, and then I saw like 15-year-old kids in line with me, and I was just, all my pride just went out the window.
I teach a modeling class, and I look after like 1 week, there are 18-year-olds who are better at modeling, just the concept and the love of it than I will be for the rest of my life.
Right. The work-life balance when it comes to an animator, what can people expect?
In animation, you will start to realize there literally aren't enough hours in the day, especially when you're working on something and you think you're going to get it done by the end of the week. You think, I understand this many scenes and this many characters, and you find at the end of the day, literally drawing that much takes up so many more hours than you thought. Literally lip syncing that much takes up more hours than you thought. expect it to be not necessarily difficult to animate, but very time consuming. Expect that you aren't going to have a lot of time, especially if you're trying to meet any kind of a deadline, or if you're getting a good work ethic in, you're not going to have a lot of time for rest and relaxation.
But you got to put in the time in the beginning, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you want to see your credits on the big screen. And I know
and
that's
then in the middle
goal.
when you're hired, and then at the end, so you don't get fired.
Yeah. Where can we learn more about you and your team and your projects?
Well, we have a bunch of social media for Evelyn Doom. And we have our Twitter, Facebook, our Instagram, and all that stuff. We're putting out updates and showing what we're doing. And Robin Zom is on YouTube. I will maybe think about putting up a small animation sometime soon just to update it, because we haven't worked on it in a while.
Okay.
Mostly right now it's Evelyn Doom, and we're keeping people up to date almost every Friday with some new images or some new progress reports on our animation.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining me, right? Very insightful answers. I definitely appreciate all the insight that you've given us, especially being an instructor and teaching other people. I know there's tons of people who want to be in this industry. At the end of the day, it is about the story. Did you want to mention anybody else from your team? Because I think there was a co-creator of your show, right?
Absolutely. Marcus Anderson is the guy who pushed me to just get off my butt and actually do something. Right as COVID began, I was stuck on scripts, and Marcus said, "Hey, I'm bored. Let's go make an animation." I said, "Hell yeah, let's make an animation." And he had seen some Robin Zom test footage, I suppose you could say. He pushed me to it. And then all my writers, Levi Lindsey, Anna Manziger, Holly Payne, Chris Flora, Tommy Therpa, Carlton Carter, just the ideas, the endless series of weird stuff. I never thought Robin Zom would have a lemonade stand, but somebody came up with that, and there's a Robin Zom lemonade stand script out there. And the backgrounds, they're just these 2D backgrounds, but they're awesome. They're made by David Edwards, who I just contacted him on Facebook when I was starting out, saying, "Hi, could I do some of these backgrounds you have?" And he said, "Sure." And he sent me HD versions of them. He's done backgrounds for major films like Blade Runner and Wonder Woman, and he just gave me some free stuff, so I can't thank him enough. And Tyler Rydosz, who does the music, and Soren Odom, who does the do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Everyone I've worked with on this project has been absolutely great to work with. Oh, and Kato Deville, he did some voices later on.
Awesome.
Everyone here I want to thank, because they've all been awesome.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody who took part in this great project. Thanks everybody for joining us.
If you haven't checked out our community section, click the button. That's where we're posting all the latest and the greatest and digging out films from our archive for your enjoyment. Thanks for tuning in. Click that like, click that bell, and subscribe. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us growing. I'll see you guys tomorrow.